Next, from the state capitol, we talk with Todd Vandermyde of the National Rifle Association about the effort to pass a law allowing Illinois citizens to carry a concealed weapon. 49 other states, all but Illinois, allow for concealed carry, and recently a court ordered Illinois to pass a concealed carry law by June. This runs about 8 minutes.
Todd Vandermyde with the National Rifle Association. Thanks for joining us again on the Illinois channel. One of the primary issues that is being faced with the Illinois legislature this spring session is the issue of concealed carry, that a federal court has ordered the state to act on that. Can you bring us up to speed on where that stands?
Sure. We've had some subject matter hearings started in the House Judiciary Committee. There will be some more of those taking place later this week. We've introduced a bill in the House and a bill in the Senate to meet the court's requirements and to have a shall issue permitting system that'll be good across the state to allow people to carry handguns for self-defense.
And what specifically, I mean, I don't mean word by word, but what was the gist of the court order from the federal court?
Well, the court orders said that Illinois' complete and total ban on carrying a firearm in public for self-defense is unconstitutional. That the Second Amendment, that the right to keep and bear arms mean it's the right to keep and carry arms, including out in the public.
I have heard there are a number of companies that say we don't want people bringing guns into work. Some of them have even thought about banning their workers from having guns in their cars in the parking lot. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, the businesses will be free to post that they don't want guns inside their buildings. But when it comes to the parking lot, we think that they're on very shaky ground because they can't sit there and disarm their employees when they're traveling to and from work. Unless they want to accept the absolute liability and be responsible for anything that happens to those individuals that they've disarmed, because when they're off the clock, they're not their employees. They can control what they do on the job. But off the job, it's not up to them what means of self-defense, particular individual employees. Their employment contract doesn't reach to the doorstep of their home.
Now, as you've already said, Illinois is the only state thus far that doesn't allow it. So 49 other states have some version of a concealed carry law. Is that right? How much of a variance is there in wiggle room as far as Illinois adopting a concealed carry law? Are you advising lawmakers as to which law might suit Illinois best based upon what you know of other states?
Sure. There are two basic styles. One is what's called a shall issue. If you meet the requirements, you get the permit or license. Then there's the may issue. The may issue allows a bureaucrat or some elected official or somebody to have absolute discretion as to whether or not you're worthy of exercising your constitutional right. We don't allow it with the right to vote. We don't allow it with search and seizures. We don't allow it with other parts of the Bill of Rights. And we don't think it's appropriate in this case either. So, we've been talking to legislators. The bills that we've introduced are, representative of Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, states that are, close to us or have a good record of success.
The court, as I understand it, said you have to have that in place by what, sometime in June?
Sometime between June 8th and June 10th.
For that to happen, what time frame are we looking at as far as passing a bill in the legislature?
Well, I think that what we're looking at is it would be helpful if the legislature did it sooner rather than later. This isn't like pensions that you can kick the can down the road. You can keep procrastinating on this. There's a time clock that is ticking on that. And with that, we think that the legislature would be much better served to get this off the plate and have a reasonable debate about this, in the next month.
We won't take too much more of your time, but the process would then be what? Let's say it's passed and someone wants to have a concealed carry. How do they go about getting a license?
Well, they would make an application to the state police. They would have to provide evidence that they've completed the requisite training, including a range qualification. And once they've done that, with the appropriate fees, the state police will, run a background check, process the paperwork, and then mail out a carry permit, much like they do a FOID card today.
What do you say to someone in law enforcement? I guess the state police are saying that we don't have financially the wherewithal to process the high percentage of applications that they anticipate would be coming their way.
Well, we've been trying to talk to the state police about what the appropriate fees are to make sure that it's addressed for them, and to make sure that it's not going to be a net drain on the functions they need to. So we think they'll be able to, with the right language, be able to accommodate, the new system that they're going to have to put in place.
And one of the other issues I just wanted to bring up relative to the gun issue, which is in the news today, that Mayor Michael Bloomberg of New York is putting money into the 2nd Congressional District race, apparently as far as trying to be against Debbie Halverson, who has favored guns or been supported in the past by NRA. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I find it amazing that the mayor from New York is trying to buy an election in the state of Illinois, and a district that's, that district is considered anti-gun, and that they're having to spend millions of dollars to keep it that way. I think there's been a shift in, the public's view on firearms, and I don't think it's necessarily in favor of, the mayor's position.
And then lastly, let's say, if this is passed, happens if various elected officials at the local level say, we're just not going to go along with it, we don't care what the law is?
Well, they're going to find themselves on the wrong side of the preemption clause. They're going to find themselves with a lot of litigation on their hands, and I think they're going to have a very big problem. And the question for them is, how much of your taxpayer money that seems to be in such short supply these days do you want to squander? The city of Chicago has already paid the National Rifle Association's attorneys over $1.5 million in fees for the litigation we've won.
Over what period of time is that 1.5?
Between the McDonald case in 2010 and as of December of last year when we finally collected, it's, for a series of about 2 or 3 cases, it's about $1.5 million.
If I can ask one more, we were talking earlier about the police and doing a background check. Do we know, or is this part of the conversation going on, what would be the exclusions to getting a gun once they did a background check?
Well, it's all the same prohibitors you have under a FOIA card. If there's a conviction for domestic violence, if you're a convicted felon, if you've got mental health issues where you've been a patient in a mental health hospital within the last 5 years, orders of protection, all the typical stuff that prevent you from owning a firearm today will prevent you from carrying one under the legislation.
All right, Todd Vandermyde, thanks for joining us.
You're watching the Illinois Channel, an independent nonprofit corporation formed to provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of Illinois state government and other public affairs events taking place across Illinois.